Hey YouTube, John here again. Just a quick video, well a quick video, it might take around 10 minutes. I've been getting a lot of questions and a lot of emails asking about f1.4 and what's the aperture that you'd use. Would you use 1.4 or would you always shoot at f2? Some of them are related to the Sigma 50mm review that I've done on my lens that I've got, which I own, and some of them were just questions. So I decided to go out today. It's a very cloudy, really cloudy outside, and I used my son and his friend, which I didn't use any flash, so I decided to expose on the hot side to get some nice light in the eyes. If I'd have maybe exposed out the camera in AV, I'd have probably got something like that, which is okay, but I wanted to get a little bit more light in these eyes, so I've slightly exposed every image on the hot side. And if you look from this image to this image, there's just a white balance change. I just quickly tweak the white balance on all the images, nothing else. Everything else is default, the raw files. And what I did was I went out and I've shot some shots at f1.4 and at f2, and the last few shots, these last few shots, I think are f1.4, f2, f2.8 and f4, just to show you the difference on the sharpness of the eyes. So let's just get straight into it and look at an f1.4. Just turn the lights down a bit. If you look at f1.4 there, it's okay. Really blurred out background, which was about 6 or 7 feet away. It's done a good job at isolating the background, with a little crop on that. I did move the focus point on the 50D to not the very top one, the one to the left, so I focused on, I'm no point pointing, on this eye here. And as you can see, no sharpening out of the camera. Let's just zoom in. First thing you can see is the image is soft, but it's in focus. You know what I mean? It's not tack sharp, and it's not as sharp as it would be if it was shot at f2, but it's in focus is that image. It's not a throwaway image, it's in focus. Now I will tell you, I shot 2 of every one of these images, and I went through and found the best and deleted the others. So that's what you need to do when you're shooting, especially at f1.4. You need to take a fair few shots because it's so easy to get a missed out focus shot. Right, so there's your f1.4. As you can see, we've got a bit of chromatic aberration here as well, which is 2-minute job to remove in Lightroom, but I didn't want to touch the settings. Now the settings are here, 50mm 1.4. This one's shot 1.4 again. I'll just evaluate it, stand back. You can see his ears really blurred. We'll just zoom in and centralise the eyes. Same thing again, in focus, a little bit soft, but I'd be happy with that image. If I had to shoot in low light and I'd be happy with it. Don't get me wrong, I think f2 is a lot better, but I'd be happy with that, and I won't delete it and I won't throw it away. Another 50mm f1.4. That's actually not bad, quite clear. 2 eyes in focus this time. Just dropping in focus as it comes off the back of the image. If you have a look, it's quite sharp. No wrong with that. Nicely still throwing the background out of focus. I'd have actually liked to shoot that at f2, because what happens when you shoot at f2? If you shoot at f2, your back of your shoulder will slightly clear up, and this'll slightly clear up, but not enough to bother you. And what it'll do is it'll create distance between him and the background. If you look now, there is distance between him and the background, but because his shoulder's blurred, it sort of blurs into the background. But if it sharpens up a little bit, what happens is you create a lot of depth and dimension then. So he starts to look 3-dimensional because it looks like he's popping off the background. But anyway, so it's 50mm 1 point. Obviously they're all 50mm. There's a prime example, but because the background was only 6 feet away, it's not blurred enough. But if you look at that, he actually looks like he's popping off the background. I mean, hopefully you'll see that in 1080p on YouTube. The only downfall of that is that I would have liked the background to be maybe another 6 feet away, and it would have been a lot more out of focus, and you'd have really got what I mean. But anyway, there's another 1.4. And then this is his friend. This one ain't too bad. This one's not far off what I'm talking about. This is his friend. As you can see, they're both as white as sheets. As you can see, a little bit soft, but in focus. And again, this was pretty close up, focus point moved to be honest, that's actually probably the best I've seen on the 1.4. But my son actually, if I actually watch the videos sometimes when I'm recording him, he rocks and moves all over. Whereas this lad, a fair few of his 1.4s look a lot better than my son, which might be because he just stands more still, I don't know. Because you've only got to move half an inch on a 1.4 and it'll look soft. And it's so easy to do that when you stood getting your picture took. So there is a closer at 1.4. As you can see, background's nanite, very nice. And again, that's in focus again, a little bit soft, but totally acceptable to me. Oh, we've got an F2 now. Have a look at an F2. Oh yeah, you can see F2 now just shines. It's just really coming into its own now. If you look at the background, his shoulders have started to sharpen up a bit. Look at shoulder, look at it there. And where are we now? Another F2. Absolutely sharp, that. Really brilliant. You're not going to get much better than that. And you can. This is one where you see now where he looks like he's popping off the background because his shoulder's slightly in focus and his arm, so he looks three-dimensional. Bit of a crop on that. Exposure down a touch, bit of contrast, bit of blacks. It'd look really good. Another F2. That's not bad. He's popping off the background there. Oh, let me zoom in, sorry. I've got to zoom in on them all. As you can see, F2 it really does start to shine, but F1.4 is usable. This is a first ever group shot. Well, not a group shot, but a double shot. What I thought I'd shoot at F1.4. I think I focused here. And as you can see, we're both in focus. See, look, his eye does look more focused than it'll be him. He'll be moving, I'm telling you. But there you go, 50mm F1.4. And then I decided to do an F2. Oh, I've reset the white balance on that one. And that's it. If you look at your is it F2? Yeah, F2. We're zooming now. There you go. Now look at the clarity that we're getting. So there's F2. Then I think we're on the last three images, which should be 2, 2.8, 4 and a 5.6. Right, so let's go back to the beginning. So we're going to go, first of all, we'll evaluate the background. So we've got F2, F4, no, F2.8, F2, F2.8, F4. You see, I like the F4 there with a bit of a crop on it because, again, like I've said to you, his shoulder's just coming into sharpness. I were really close up to him and the background's still soft enough to really create separation between him and the background. There's your F4 and there's your 5.6. 5.6 now, the background's really starting to come into the equation. But I think that would be my shot that I'd choose. Obviously slightly underexposed a bit more and a bit of contrast and a bit of blacks and a bit of editing there. But I like the way that he's really popping off that background. Right, let's now go back to looking at the eyes on the shots. Look at that. Let me have a look, what's that? F2, clear as a bobbin. F2.8. So actually look at that eye there. When we got 2.8, it's quite a bit sharper at 2.8. Well, it's even sharper at 2.8. But for some reason, that eye's not. Maybe he twisted his head a little bit more. Let's have a look. Oh, yeah, look. He's looking more at me there and there. Oh, whoops. He's looking more at me there. And if you look there, he's twisted his head. I think I focused on this eye. I must have done anyway. So there's your F2.8. And if you look at F4, I mean, just look at F4. Look at his nose, look at his lips. I mean, that is absolutely really clear. And then if you go to a 5.6, I mean, 5.6, absolutely. I mean, considering there's no sharpening on the image, look at that. I mean, that wouldn't even need sharpening. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely spot on. So I'll just fly back through, turn the lights on. So I hope that helps for anybody wondering whether to shoot between an f1.4 or an f2. Or obviously f1.4 is a shade soft, but I wouldn't hesitate in using it. I would use it anytime, any place, anywhere. If you're noticing that your lens is a lot softer than mine, because as you can see these are default, I'm going to put it on 1080p, so you should be able to get a good idea of what they actually look like, which they aren't bad at all. Don't get me wrong, f2 really does come into song, and I would choose f2 as often as I could, but if I needed the extra stop of light, I would drop to f4 without a problem. And maybe if I was shooting a model and I really wanted a shallow depth field, I'd probably use f1.4. Just remember, take a fair few shots because you will get soft ones. People have only got to move millimetres and it'll chuck your shot out of focus. If you're having soft images, download a focus chart and test that your lens is actually working correctly, because it will really show f1.4. Like I've told you, my Sigma on my 600D, it slightly front focuses, but at f2.8 and f4 you can't tell. But when you get it to f1.4 and f2 and you take pictures with the 600D and then the 50D, you can clearly see there's a massive difference. But like I said, f4 and stuff like that, you can't tell. So I hope this helps anybody who's, well, I hope it answers all the questions that I've shot. Sorry about the day, but it's very crap out here in the UK, really cloudy, and I didn't have time to pull out my flash to underexpose the image and fill in with flash to create more contrast. I just wanted to shoot a quick couple of shots with light in the eyes. Just before I do go, that's one of the reasons why I like to use fill flash, because this is how really you've got to shoot the image to get a bit of light in the eyes. If you don't, I mean, roughly out of the camera, I'd say that might have come out at something like that. Maybe, I mean, it looks a little bit better, doesn't it? It looks more contrasty, it looks a little bit nicer, but if you look at his eyes now, that's one of the reasons why sometimes I like to fill in, maybe knock it down to about here and fill in with a bit of flash and bring it up to maybe about here, but you'll have that light in the eyes what you get when you go like that. And that's one of the reasons why I like to use a lot of flash, because otherwise you've got to, I think I overrode, I mean, the shutter speeds there, I shot it in manual, every one of these was in manual, but I think they were showing a stop overexposed than what the camera would have chose. If I'd have let it choose, it would have been a stop underexposed. So let's just go one full stop. That's probably just maybe because of the bright sky behind. Actually with 3/4 of a stop, if I remember correctly, which isn't bad. But again, if I were to print that image, I know damn well that these eyes would print a lot darker and they'd look rubbish. But like I said, for the video, I slightly overexposed the images. Anyway, hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a good new year if I don't speak to you before then.